My name is Angela, and my story begins with a note that should have meant nothing. A note so ordinary it could have been forgotten, but instead it burned into me like fire. It was written in Alex's hurried script, left on the kitchen counter beside a lukewarm mug of coffee. Work ran long. Staying one more night on the trip. Love you. See you Monday. He had already kissed my cheek before sunrise, his lips brushing my skin like routine, like a man with nothing to hide. He smiled, buttoned his shirt, and told me to rest. I believed him. Why would I not? He had traveled before, sometimes for days. He had always returned with tired eyes and brief stories about clients I would never meet. I had learned to let him go without question, to trust his absences as much as his presence. That Sunday morning I brewed coffee anyway, out of habit. I set 2 cups, even though one would remain full. I cracked an egg into a pan. I tried to imagine him sitting at the table with me, telling me about long meetings and late dinners. I told myself it was fine. He worked hard. He always worked hard. But 10 minutes later my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Something about the timing made me pause. I slid to answer. A woman's voice trembled on the line. Angela? This is Clara. I'm Alex's assistant. I frowned, the egg hissing behind me. Yes? Is everything all right? Her pause was long enough to chill the room. Then her words cut clean. I thought you should know. He is not out of town. He is still here. He was at a bar last night. With someone. Not a client. I gripped the counter until my knuckles burned. What are you talking about? I saw him. He asked me to cover for him. To move his calendar around. He wanted me to book false meetings, to log him as traveling. Clara's breath caught. I cannot do it anymore. You deserve to know. My coffee went cold. The egg blackened in the pan. The note on the counter blurred as tears filled my eyes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes between his sweet lie and the truth tearing it open. Do you have proof? My voice shook. Yes, she whispered. Receipts. Messages. Photos. I will show you. Tonight if you want. The phone slipped in my sweaty hand. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. Instead, I forced myself to stay still. I heard my own breath, ragged and shallow. He was not out of town. He was not in a hotel room reviewing contracts. He was here, laughing with another woman while I set a plate for him. When the call ended, I stared at the note again. His handwriting, once so familiar, now looked like the scrawl of a stranger. I pressed the paper flat, then folded it once, twice, 3 times until it was no bigger than a coin. I held it tight in my fist. I whispered into the quiet kitchen. If this is true, Alex, you will regret it. I did not cry. Not then. I took the pan off the stove. I sat down at the table where his chair was empty. My pulse hammered in my ears, but inside something harder was forming. I picked up a notebook from the counter and wrote the first entry in large, shaking letters. January 14th. Alex. Note on counter. Clara called. Proof offered. The words looked strange, foreign, but also powerful. A record. A beginning. Because one thing had become clear. My silence would no longer protect him. Clara's last words echoed in my mind. Come tonight. I will show you everything. And as I stared at the folded note in my palm, I knew I had to decide. Stay in the dark, or walk straight into the fire. The hours crawled after Clara's call. I paced the kitchen until the floor creaked under me. I tried to focus on anything else, laundry, dishes, the stack of unopened mail, but the folded note in my pocket pressed against me like a weight. Alex's words, work ran long. Love you. Were written in ink. Clara's words, he is still here. With someone. Were carved into my skull. Which would I believe? By evening I could no longer breathe in that house. I put on a coat, slipped my notebook into my bag, and drove across the city. The streets were slick with winter rain, headlights stretching across the pavement. I gripped the wheel, repeating Clara's voice in my head. Receipts. Messages. Photos. Her office was dim, only one light glowing inside. Clara opened the door before I could knock twice. She looked younger than I expected, nervous, her hair pulled back, her hands trembling. I did not want to do this, she said. But I cannot keep lying for him. She led me to her desk. Papers were spread across it, neat but damning. She pushed one forward, a restaurant receipt. Champagne dinner for two. The date matched the night Alex claimed to be at an out-of-town dinner with clients. My throat tightened. You're sure this is his? I booked the reservation myself. I used his card. He asked me to file it under business development. Clara's voice cracked. But that's not all. She opened her laptop. Her screen glowed with a calendar. Alex's calendar. His so-called trip was filled with blank entries, false meetings, fabricated hotel check-ins. He asked me to create these, Clara whispered, to make it look real. But he never left the city. I pressed my palms to the desk, trying to steady myself. Proof. Real tangible proof. My husband had lied with precision, even dragging this young woman into his web. Clara bit her lip, then pulled out her phone. There is more. She tapped quickly, then turned the screen toward me. A photo. Grainy but clear enough. Alex at a bar laughing. His arm was draped around a woman with dark hair. The timestamp read 10:47 p.m., the exact time he had texted me. Heading to bed early. Call tomorrow. I swallowed hard, bile rising in my throat. My notebook trembled as I pulled it from my bag. I wrote each detail down. January 14th. Restaurant receipt. Champagne for two. Calendar falsified. Photo of Alex with woman, 10:47 p.m. Clara watched me quietly. Finally, she whispered. Her name is Maya. She works in marketing. He told me to block time in his schedule for her. The name hit me like a stone to the chest. Maya. Now the betrayal had a face, a name, a presence. Clara leaned closer. I should not be showing you this. He will know I told you. But Angela, you need to see who he is when you are not looking. She played an audio clip. Alex's voice, low and casual. She suspects nothing. I told her I would be gone all weekend. We are fine. A woman's laugh followed. Maya's voice. Soft, intimate, too close. The sound hollowed me. I felt the walls of Clara's office close in. The man I thought I knew, the man I had built my life with, was confessing in his own voice. Not to me but to her. I wanted to cry but tears would not come. My anger held them back like a dam. I closed the notebook and looked Clara in the eye. Send me everything. Every receipt, every email, every audio clip. She hesitated, then nodded. I will. Tonight. She reached across the desk, her hand brushing mine. Angela, you need to be careful. He is clever. He will deny until the end. You cannot confront him without preparation. I nodded slowly. I am not going to confront him. Not yet. The rain had stopped by the time I left. The streets shone like mirrors. I clutched the envelope Clara had given me, filled with printed receipts, copies of reservations and screenshots. Each one felt like a nail in a coffin. Back home, I spread the papers across my kitchen table. The green ink of Alex's note sat beside the black and white receipts. Two realities colliding, the life he pretended to give me, and the life he lived without me. I opened my notebook again, my hand steadier this time. I wrote in bold letters, the betrayal is real. I circled it once, twice, 3 times. And as midnight struck, my phone buzzed again. A message from Alex. Good night, love. I miss you. I stared at the glowing screen, the proof scattered across my table, and whispered, not for long. I did not sleep. I watched the receipts as if they were breathing. I let the house go quiet. I let my anger cool into shape. Hot anger shatters. Cold anger carves. I began with a notebook. Page 1 held the first entries. I added page 2. Date, time, location, source. I wrote each detail as if it were a vow. I photographed every receipt. I scanned each file into a folder with a plain name. I made a copy on a drive. I hid that drive in a shoebox. I texted Lydia a single line. I need you tomorrow. She replied at once. I will come. At dawn I called my bank. I asked for statements for the last 3 months. I asked for itemized charges. I asked for copies with visible timestamps. The clerk said yes. They would send a secure download within the hour. I thanked her. I wrote her name in the log. I checked our cloud album. Alex had uploaded nothing from this trip. No hotel view. No airport gate. No casual photo of a lobby. He always posted one small thing. This time there was silence. Silence can be a record. I drove to the bar listed on the receipt. I wore a plain coat. I ordered tea. I asked the bartender if the room had cameras. He nodded. We keep footage for 2 weeks. I asked if I could request a copy for a specific window. I showed the date. I did not mention names. He said I could submit a written request. I wrote it at the counter. He stamped it. He slid a carbon copy back to me. I thanked him and logged the time. Outside I called Clara. She answered in a whisper. I sent you a folder, she said. It holds the calendar edits. It holds 2 voice notes. It holds the contact card for Maya. I opened the link while we spoke. The edits showed false meetings blocked at even hours. The voice notes were short but enough. His laugh. Her answer. The word Saturday spoken like a promise. I asked Clara for one more thing. Did he use ride shares on those nights? She checked. She could not see the accounts. She did see a line in his expense sheet. 2 private cars. Same vendor. She sent the vendor name. I logged it and called them. The dispatcher confirmed that Alex had rides on 2 dates. Pickups near Maya's building. Drop-offs near our apartment but after midnight. The dispatcher agreed to email receipts. I thanked him. I added the call to my log. At noon the bank link arrived. I sat at the kitchen table and opened each page. Charges matched Clara's list. A second restaurant. A hotel lounge. A florist near Maya's office. The florist charge was small. A single stem perhaps. I wrote it down. Small things reveal scale. I walked to the florist. Bells rang when I opened the door. The clerk remembered him. Tall. Dark coat. He asked for a single peony. He said it was her favorite. My stomach tightened. My favorite was not a peony. The clerk offered a printed receipt. I accepted and logged the time. Lydia arrived with a calm face and a strong bag. She hugged me once. She did not say empty words. She sat and sorted. Chain of custody, she said softly. We number every document. We mark who touched it. We keep copies in 3 places. We worked in silence. She labeled each page with a neat hand. She placed them into sleeves. She made an index. In the afternoon we drove to a cafe across from Maya's office. We did not enter her building. We watched. We saw Alex's car circle the block. We saw him park and wait. He stayed 15 minutes. He checked his mirror. He did not go inside. Then a woman with dark hair came from a side door. She got into the passenger seat. They drove away. I did not lift my phone at once. My hands trembled. Lydia touched my wrist. Now, she whispered. I took 2 photos. I noted the plate. I noted the time. I wrote the street name in block letters. We did not follow. We went home. I printed the 2 photos. I placed them behind the florist's receipt. The pile became a shape that even my fear could not argue with. I drank water. I ate a plain cracker. I did not want to faint when the time came. Clara called again. He asked me to move a meeting on Friday, she said. He asked for an extra hour for airport traffic. He is not flying on Friday. Her voice shook. Angela, be careful. I opened our phone bill and checked the call log. There were long gaps on nights he claimed to be at dinners. He had not called me then. He had texted me only 1 line at 10. Busy. Sleep well. The line sat on the screen like a bruise. At 6 the bar manager rang. He had pulled the camera clip. He asked me to bring a drive. Lydia and I went at once. He handed over a file with a timestamp burned into the corner. We watched a preview on his monitor. Alex at a high table. Maya leaning in. Their shoulders touched. He mouthed something I knew by shape. I miss you. I felt the room tilt. Lydia steadied me by the elbow. We signed a receipt for the footage. We logged the chain. Back at home we backed up the file in 2 places. We tested the audio. The sound was soft but it existed. Evelyn, the lawyer Lydia trusted, joined a call. She asked 3 things. Did you obtain all items lawfully? Yes. Did any third party provide access with consent? Yes. Can you attest to chain of custody? Yes. She exhaled. Then you are strong. Do not confront him yet. Gather 2 more witness statements. Then we prepare. I thought of my wedding vows. I thought of the first apartment that smelled of paint. I thought of the kettle he had left full that morning. Grief rose like a tide. I let it crest. I did not let it drown me. We made tea. We reviewed the plan. Lydia would reach out to the valet. Evelyn would draft a preservation letter to Alex's employer for travel logs. Clara would forward the calendar audit with her own brief note. I would remain silent with Alex until the reveal. Silence would be the scabbard. Proof would be the blade. At 9 my doorbell rang. I froze. Lydia looked through the peephole. No one was there. A plain envelope lay on the mat. No stamp. No name. Inside was a single photo. Alex and Maya in the same bar, closer than before. On the back someone had written 4 words with a blunt pen. You are not ready. My throat went dry. I checked the hallway. Empty. I checked the stairwell. Footsteps faded below. Lydia locked the door and set the chain. She looked at me with clear eyes. He is watching the watchers, she said. That means the timing will matter more than ever. I gathered the files and slid them into the binder. I placed the note from the morning beside them. The lie and the proof now touched. The circle had closed. My phone lit up on the table. Alex was calling on video. The screen showed his smile and a hotel lamp behind him. He said, I just wanted to see your face. I watched the false room glow. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I pressed accept. I answered the video call. I kept my face still. Alex smiled from a hotel room that was not a hotel. The lamp looked staged. The curtains looked wrong. He said he missed me. He asked what I ate for dinner. I pressed record. I let him talk. I gave him nothing but warm air. When the call ended, I saved the file in 3 places. I named it with the date and the hour. I wrote 1 line in my notebook. He lies with ease. He performs on cue. I needed allies. Proof is heavy when you hold it alone. I called Lydia at dawn. She came with coffee and a calm voice. She listened without interrupting. She asked to see everything. I laid out the binder. Receipts. Photos. Audio. The camera clip. The envelope from the hallway with the words, You are not ready. She read each page as if counting a pulse. Then she looked at me and said, You are ready. We set rules. No shouting. No surprises. No late night traps. Law first. Strategy second. Pride last. Lydia gave me a name. Evelyn. A lawyer who does not tremble. We met in a quiet office with tall windows and a single plant that did not wilt. Evelyn did not offer pity. She asked precise questions. How I got the files. Who touched the files. Where the files live. I answered with dates and places. She nodded once. We preserve, she said. We request travel confirmations from his employer. We secure witness statements. We make a clean timeline. Then we choose a stage that cannot be controlled by his charm. Her words steadied me. She drafted a letter at once. It asked for records of flights and hotels for the past 3 months. It named the key dates. It used calm language. It set a clock in motion. I looped Clara in. We met at a small cafe where the music was soft. She looked pale, but she did not look away. She agreed to write a short statement. She would confirm that she created false meetings at his request. She would attach calendar edits. She would attach the restaurant booking notes in her own hand. I thanked her. She gripped her cup with both hands. He will be angry, she whispered. He will say I broke his trust. I spoke gently. He taught you to lie. Trust was already broken. She closed her eyes, then nodded. We mapped the plan. Lydia made a list on yellow paper. Numbers in a neat column. 1. Back up all files in 3 places. 2. Get the bar footage certified by the manager. 3. Collect 2 more witness statements. 4. Ask the ride service for sworn receipts. 5. Keep me silent with Alex until the day of reveal. 6. Pick the room. Pick the hour. Pick the first sentence. The room mattered. I did not want a private scene that could be swept away. I needed a room where lies would die fast. Clara knew of one. The firm would host a winter mixer in 4 days. It would be a formal night. Partners. Clients. The board. Beaches. Cameras. A stage. My breath caught. A public room. A microphone I did not need to touch. The perfect place for truth to sit without shouting. Evelyn lifted a hand. We do not ambush. We inform quietly. We prepare sealed packets. We identify 3 people who must receive them. Partner. An HR director. A board member. If Alex denies, the documents will already be in their hands. Lydia suggested a 4th. A journalist known for patience, not scandal. If they try to bury it, she said. Facts must not suffocate. Evelyn agreed with care. 1 journalist. Not 10. Verification first. No leaks. No drama. We rehearsed. I practiced my face in stillness. I practiced one slim line. Before we applaud, there is a record you should see. I would not accuse. I would not narrate. I would let the paper speak. I would let his voice convict him. That night we gathered more names. The valet gave a short recorded statement. He remembered the car. He remembered the laugh. The bartender signed a note. He remembered the peony on the table. The manager certified the video file and stamped the envelope. I slept for 2 hours and woke with my heart racing. I walked to the kitchen and touched the folded note from the first morning. I placed it into a clear sleeve. The lie and the proof would stand side by side. By noon, HR replied to Evelyn's letter. The words were brief. They would review records. They would preserve logs. They would hold comment. It was enough. It meant our request had a file number. It meant time could not be erased. At dusk, Clara sent a message. A screenshot of Alex's calendar for the mixer night. He had blocked 1 extra hour after the speeches. The block was labeled Private Toast. My hands went cold. A private room. A smaller audience. A chance to spin. We adjusted the plan. Lydia would shadow the floor. She would hand the packets to the 3 names before the speeches began. Evelyn would stand near the exit with certified copies. Clara would sit near the sound booth. If Alex tried to call the night a smear, the audio would play within seconds. I would stand where he could see me but not reach me. I chose my dress with care. Not new. Not loud. I chose the one he had once called too simple for a big room. It was navy. It was clean. It did not shake. I wanted him to remember every time he had underestimated stillness. 2 days before the mixer, a courier arrived. No return label. Inside the envelope lay a single printed page. It held a photo of me and Lydia entering Evelyn's building. On the back, in the same blunt script as before, were 5 words. Do not embarrass yourself. Please. I stared at the word please until the letters blurred. Fear tried to coil around my throat. Lydia took the page and slid it into a sleeve. Good, she said softly. Now we know he is afraid. Evelyn tightened the plan. We will arrive early, she said. We will control our own timing. We will not wait for his cue. The first speech will not be his. That evening my phone lit up with a new invitation. It was from Alex. Join me at the mixer. We're something elegant. I want to celebrate us. The words were sugar over glass. I typed a simple answer. I will be there. Then Clara called, her voice barely a breath. Angela, she said. He changed the seating chart. He put Maya at your table. I closed my eyes. I let the room tilt. I let it settle. The night was set. The packets were sealed. The room was chosen. And now I would sit across from the woman he chose in secret, while the truth waited under my chair like a quiet blade. The days before the mixer moved like ice. I marked each hour in my notebook, each breath part of the plan. We had evidence. We had allies. Now we needed precision. Lydia and I sat at my table late into the night. We checked the files again. Receipts. Photos. Audio. Video. Clara's statement. The affidavits from the bar staff. We numbered every page. Lydia sealed 3 identical envelopes. She labeled them for the names Evelyn had chosen. The HR director, a senior partner, and a board member. Once these are in their hands, Lydia said, his denials will mean nothing. Evelyn joined us by phone. Her voice was calm, clipped. Angela, you must remember one thing, control the tone. Do not let him provoke you. Let the documents speak. If he accuses, say nothing. If he shouts, remain still. Silence will show strength. Naomi, the journalist contact, was waiting quietly. She agreed to hold the story until the mixer ended. I will publish only when the packets are delivered, she said. That way, the truth will rise everywhere at once. We rehearsed. Lydia pretended to be Alex, smug and smooth. I practiced looking straight through her, not flinching. Evelyn had me say one single line. There is a record and you will see it now. That was all. No anger. No insults. Just fact. Clara helped too. She studied the seating chart Alex had changed. Maya will be right at your table. He thinks he can humiliate you quietly. He wants her presence to silence you. Clara's hand shook as she spoke. But that gives you power. Everyone will be watching. We prepared a backup signal. If Alex tried to silence me, Lydia would nod to Clara. Clara would play the audio through the sound system. His own voice would fill the room. There would be no escape. The dress I chose hung by the door. Navy. Simple. A dress he once mocked for being plain. Too quiet for a gala, he had said. That was why I wanted it. A quiet thing can be sharper than a blade. On the final night before the mixer, Lydia brought a small safe. We placed one full set of documents inside. She locked it and left it at her office. Even if he destroys everything, she said, this will remain. I wrote the last entry in my notebook before bed. Tomorrow is not for revenge. Tomorrow is for truth. But then just before midnight, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Only 5 words. He knows you are ready. I stared at the screen, my pulse quickening. If Alex already suspected, he might twist the night first. He might try to stand on stage before me. He might smear me with lies. I closed my notebook, my hand steady. Tomorrow would decide everything. Would I take the stage before him, or would I let him bury me alive with his charm? The night of the mixer arrived cloaked in cold rain. I stood before the mirror, fastening the navy dress. The fabric was smooth, calm, unshaken. My reflection did not look like the woman he once mocked. It looked like someone prepared for war. Lydia picked me up just after 6. She carried the envelopes in her bag, sealed and numbered. Evelyn was already inside the venue, waiting near the exit. Clara sat in the corner of the hall, close to the sound booth. Every piece of the plan was in place. The hall glowed with chandeliers and golden light. Waiters carried trays of wine and champagne. Guests laughed, their voices a low tide rising and falling. I walked in quietly, my heels clicking against the polished floor. Then I saw him. Alex stood at the center of it all, a glass in hand, smiling broadly. His suit was sharp, his hair perfect, his arm brushing against Maya's. She wore a glittering dress, her laughter high and deliberate. And then my stomach turned. She was seated at my table, just as Clara warned. Our eyes met for a split second. Maya's smile widened, not kind but sharp, as if she believed she had already won. Alex looked past me, as though I were a shadow at the edge of his stage. Lydia leaned close and whispered, "Do not let them see fear." The first speeches began. A partner spoke about growth, about loyalty, about future deals. The crowd clapped politely. Alex was scheduled to speak later, after the toast. That was when we planned to move. That was when the packets would be in the right hands. But then the schedule shifted. The host announced, "And now a few words from Alex Pound, who has worked tirelessly this quarter." Applause broke out. My chest tightened. This was not the timing we rehearsed. He was speaking early. He was trying to take control before the truth could land. Alex stepped onto the stage with practiced ease. He tapped the microphone, smiling at the audience. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began. His voice was warm, smooth, familiar. "I want to say something personal, not just professional." I froze. Lydia's grip on my wrist tightened. He smiled toward Maya, then turned to the crowd. "When people try to damage what you have built, when bitterness creates lies, it can shake the people closest to you. I want everyone here to know the truth matters. And tonight I stand by it." Murmurs spread. My blood ran cold. He was not only speaking early, he was already spinning. He was preparing to smear me before the packets were delivered. Lydia leaned close. "If he frames this as your jealousy, the crowd will hesitate when they see your evidence." I swallowed, my throat dry. He was telling his story first, painting me as unstable before the facts were in anyone's hands. Evelyn caught my eye from across the room. She gave a small nod, our signal. We had to move now. Clara's hand hovered near the sound booth controls. Lydia's bag was ready, but still my legs felt heavy. This was earlier than planned. If I stepped forward too soon, would they see me as desperate? Or would waiting mean letting his lies harden into stone? On the stage, Alex spread his arms, his voice calm and strong. Some people cannot stand to see happiness. They create stories. But we know what is real. We know what is true. The room nodded, drawn in by his tone. He was stealing the moment we had prepared for. I took a deep breath, my fingers brushing the envelope beneath the table. This was the pivot. Either I rose now, cutting through his speech, or I let him finish and risk the truth being buried. The next step would decide if I won or if he did. I rose before I could second-guess myself. The legs of my chair scraped softly, but in the sudden hush of the room it sounded like thunder. Every head turned. Alex faltered, his hand tightening around the microphone. I walked forward slowly, each step deliberate. My navy dress caught the chandelier light, the same dress he once dismissed as too quiet. Tonight it became my armor. I stopped halfway between the tables and the stage. Alex, I said clearly, my voice carrying. You are right. The truth does matter. The crowd shifted uneasily. Some leaned closer. Others held their breath. Maya's smile froze. Alex tried to laugh. Angela, darling, not now. But I held up the envelope Lydia had placed in my hand. Now is the only time. I turned to the nearest table. I passed the first sealed packet to the HR director, whose brow furrowed. Lydia moved silently through the crowd, placing the other two envelopes exactly where they belonged. Evelyn stood by the exit, another copy in her hand like a blade wrapped in paper. Alex's smile cracked. This is ridiculous, he snapped. She's been confused, jealous. I raised my voice, calm but firm. Then let your own words speak. Clara at the sound booth pressed play. The speakers filled with Alex's recorded voice, clear and undeniable. She suspects nothing. I told her I would be gone all weekend. We are fine. Gasps swept across the hall. Chairs shifted. A woman in the front row shook her head. Maya's face drained of color. Alex lunged forward, waving his hands. That is doctored. Lies. She. But another clip played before he could finish. His laugh again, followed by Maya's voice. I cannot wait for Saturday. Then his whisper. Me either. The weight of silence that followed was crushing. His denials died in his throat. The HR director opened the packet, eyes scanning receipts and photos. His face hardened. These are certified, he said. The words rang out like a verdict. Alex turned red, his jaw clenched. This is an ambush. I stood tall, my voice steady. You wrote the note on my counter. You staged your calendar. You lied with precision. But lies end where proof begins. Naomi, discreet among the guests, tapped her phone. The journalist now had the files. Within minutes, the story would live beyond this room. Maya tried to rise, but her knees buckled. She sat down heavily, her hands gripping the tablecloth. She whispered something to Alex, but the microphone caught it. It's over. The audience murmured. Whispers rose like wind. Some guests stood, disgust written on their faces. Others stared at Alex with open contempt. He slammed the microphone down, his voice hoarse. You will regret this, Angela. I did not flinch. No, I said softly. Regret belongs to you. I turned and walked back through the hall, my heels striking the marble floor like a drumbeat. Lydia followed, her bag empty, her eyes blazing with triumph. Evelyn fell into step behind us, calm as ever. As I reached the doors, I looked back once. Alex stood alone on the stage, red-faced, shaking, abandoned by the very people he wanted to impress. The chandeliers glittered above him, but their light no longer belonged to him. Because the room had seen the truth, but the night was not over. Alex was cornered, and cornered men do not surrender quietly. His rage would find a way out, and I had to be ready when it did. The moment I stepped through the doors, the hall behind me erupted. The silence shattered into chaos. Voices overlapped, sharp and furious. My heels echoed in the corridor, but I stopped listening. I wanted to hear the collapse in real time. Inside, Alex shouted over the noise. It is all fake. She is unwell, jealous, desperate. His words stumbled over themselves, thin and frantic. But the guests had already seen the receipts, already heard his voice played through the speakers. One man, a partner at the firm, called out, "We saw the timestamp, Alex. You lied to every one of us." Another voice followed, colder. "If you lie in your marriage, you lie in business. You cannot be trusted." The crowd began to split. Some rose, collecting their coats, shaking their heads as they left. Others stayed, whispering with anger, recording with their phones. Every lens became another witness, another nail in the coffin. Maya tried to leave quietly, but too many eyes were on her. A woman near the front asked loudly, "Were you proud of this? Proud of breaking a family?" Maya's face crumpled. She covered it with her hands and hurried out a side door, her glittering gown dragging like a torn banner. Alex remained on the stage, fists clenched. He tried to call after her, but his voice cracked. "Wait, Maya." He stopped when the HR director rose from his seat, holding the packet in his hand. "This will be addressed immediately," the director announced. His tone was heavy, official. "You are suspended from further duties until this is resolved." Gasps rippled again. Alex's face went pale. "You cannot do this," he barked. But the director ignored him, tucking the envelope under his arm like a final judgment. Lydia slipped out of the hall and found me in the corridor. Her expression was fierce, her voice low. "It worked. He is finished." Behind her the sounds grew louder. Alex raging, guests murmuring, security moving in. Clara joined us minutes later, her face white but determined. "They turned on him," she whispered. Every lie fell apart. He tried to say the audio was fake, but no one believed him. "They are calling it the voice of his downfall." Through the half-open door I saw Alex pacing, his hands tearing through his hair. He looked smaller, diminished, like a man realizing the stage had crumbled under him. He shouted at the journalist he recognized, but the man only shook his head and kept typing. The board members huddled together, speaking quickly, their expressions hard. One of them gestured toward me at the doorway. I stood straighter, silent, calm. I would not go back inside. My part was finished. Yet I could still hear Alex's voice, ragged and desperate. "She will pay for this. You will all see." The threat cut through the air, hollow but dangerous. Lydia squeezed my arm. "Do not answer him. Let him drown in his own noise." Security stepped forward then, guiding him away from the stage. Some guests applauded quietly, not for me but for the order being restored. Others shook their heads, their disappointment heavy, final. I turned away from the door at last. I did not need to see him dragged down further. The sound of his downfall was enough. Outside the rain had stopped. The street lamps glowed, casting pale halos on the wet pavement. I breathed in the cold air, sharp and clean. For the first time in months my chest felt light. Lydia stood beside me, calm as stone. "He is ruined," she said softly. Clara nodded, her hands still trembling. "The room will never forgive him. And tomorrow the world will know." But as we walked away from the glowing hall, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Alex. 4 words typed in fury. "This is not over." The morning after felt unreal. For months I had woken with doubt, fear and questions I could not voice. But that day I woke to headlines. My phone buzzed constantly. Screens lit with articles, each one carrying fragments of the truth we had prepared so carefully. Corporate star exposed. Secret affair revealed at firm mixer. Receipts, recordings, and ruin. The collapse of Alex Pound. His name was everywhere, no longer polished with success but stained with evidence. Naomi called first. Her voice was steady, almost triumphant. Angela, the journalist, ran the full piece at dawn. The documents are online. The audio clips are embedded. It is undeniable. The public knows. I sat on the edge of my bed, the navy dress draped over a chair, reading every word. They quoted Clara's statement. They described the bar receipts, the florist, the ride service records. They wrote of the mixer, of how Alex had tried to control the story, but failed the moment his own voice played through the speakers. Spread like fire. By noon, clients had withdrawn their contracts. Sponsors suspended partnerships. The firm released a cold, clipped announcement. Effective immediately, Alex Pound has been placed on indefinite leave pending review. That was not protection. That was exile. Maya disappeared from sight. Her social media accounts went dark. People whispered that she had fled the city, too ashamed to face the fallout. Clara texted me once a simple line. "I hope you are breathing easier today." I answered yes, for the first time. But there was more than relief. My phone filled with messages from strangers, women and men alike. "Thank you for showing that truth matters. I stayed silent in my marriage. You gave me courage." Each message was like a candle, burning against the darkness I had carried for so long. My parents called that evening. My mother's voice was hesitant, guilty. "Angela, we should have seen it. We should have asked more questions." My father added, "We believed his charm. We ignored your silences. We are sorry." I listened. I let their words sink in. Apologies did not erase the years of dismissal, but they mattered. For once they were seeing me clearly. That night I walked past the firm's building. The glass windows gleamed, reflecting the city lights. Inside I saw cleaners moving quietly, wiping down tables where just hours ago Alex had stood. His name had been stripped from the event banners. His photos were gone. It was as if he had never belonged. I stopped at the florist on the way home. The clerk remembered me. She handed me a single peony, the same flower Alex once bought for Maya. I held it in my hand and felt no pain, only clarity. A flower is only a flower until you give it power. He had tried to turn it into a symbol of betrayal. I decided it would end as nothing more than petals. I left it on a park bench for a stranger. At home I opened my notebook. I read the first entry, January 14th. Note on counter. Clara called. I turned the pages slowly, tracing the evidence I had written down like a soldier's record. At the end I added the final line, day after. The world knows. I am free. Still, Alex's last message haunted me. This is not over. I knew his pride would not let him vanish easily. But pride cannot rewrite facts. Pride cannot erase recordings or receipts. Pride is powerless against proof. I closed the notebook, set it beside the folded navy dress, and exhaled. Because though the truth was finally out and his world was collapsing, I sensed the final confrontation was still ahead. Alex would not go quietly, and I had to be ready for his last desperate strike. In the weeks that followed, the storm quieted. The headlines moved on to other scandals, other names. But the damage to Alex remained. His contracts never returned. His colleagues stopped answering his calls. His charm, once his greatest weapon, was now an empty shell no one cared to hear. For me, silence became peace. I no longer woke to the sound of my phone buzzing with dread. I no longer folded his notes into my pocket like talismans. The notebook that once carried my pain now sat on a shelf, filled cover to cover. It was not a relic of suffering anymore. It was proof of survival. One evening Clara visited. She brought me a small plant in a clay pot. "For starting again," she said softly. I hugged her. She had risked everything by stepping forward. But she had given me the one thing I needed most. The truth. Lydia remained at my side, calm and steady. Evelyn, the lawyer, closed the last file with final words. "If he tries again, the court is ready. But I do not think he will. He has nothing left to lose." And she was right. Alex never confronted me again. His final message, "This is not over," hung in the air for a time, but it faded. Words without power are only echoes. I stood one morning at the park bench where I had left the peony. New flowers had grown in the soil nearby, wild and bright, untouched by human hands. I smiled, realizing that symbols only carry the meaning we choose. I chose no longer to let betrayal define me. I chose to let it go. But revenge, that I carried with pride. Not rage, not cruelty. Revenge in the form of truth. Revenge in the form of calm exposure. Revenge that left no bruises but cut deeper than any blow. Because Alex thought he could write my silence into his story. He thought I would crumble in humiliation. Instead, I became the narrator. I set the record. I let his own voice be his undoing. And to you listening now I say this. If someone betrays you, do not rush into fire. Do not scream into the wind. Collect every detail. Protect your evidence. Build your plan like a house of stone. And when the time is right, let the truth stand taller than lies. It will not only free you, It will bury their arrogance under the weight of their own words. I am Angela. They tried to laugh at my stillness. They tried to bury me in deception. But I turned silence into a sword. I turned patience into power. And when the night came, I showed the world who he really was. If you have ever been mocked, cheated, or betrayed, remember this. Silence is not weakness. Silence can be preparation. Revenge does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and the whisper is enough to destroy everything built on lies. This was my story. If it gave you strength, subscribe for more. Here betrayal does not win. Here arrogance always collapses. Here truth always finds its voice. And if you are facing betrayal now, take courage. Build your record. Hold your silence. One day when the moment is right, your truth will thunder louder than their lies.